welcome to our first project. Today we are going to be using observational drawing to help us draw. We are going to be drawing a unicorn with a barn and a rainbow. So lots of things, but what I want to teach you in this is this idea called construction and using our eyes to help us draw things, because I don't know how to draw a unicorn until I've seen a unicorn and I can get the visual information that I need to help me draw. Okay, so we're going to use what we call a reference, where I just have this picture of a unicorn with a barn and a rainbow, and we are going to draw this and make our own version like this. But we are going to break it down for you step by step. We're going to make this into two separate videos, one of unicorn drawing, one of the landscape background. So that way you can get this all done and have your own beautiful artwork to show. We are ready to get started on this project. This project is going to be an observational drawing. What that means is we are going to use our eyes to help us see, to help us learn how to draw something. So this is a really great way to learn how to draw anything. As long as we have some sort of reference, we can use what I'm going to teach you today to help you be able to draw it. So we're going to start with this beautiful reference of a unicorn with a landscape. We're going to end up breaking this down into two parts, because we're going to break it down from the unicorn and then the background. And so you always need a reference for observational drawing. We're not drawing from imagination here. And what we're going to need is we're going to need our paper. Obviously, we're going to need just a regular pencil. We're going to need an eraser. We're going to need a Sharpie marker or any type of permanent marker. And then what I'm going to use to finish this is watercolor pencils. So they work very similar to watercolor paint. You can also use watercolor paint or colored pencils or crayons for this. However you choose to color it is up to you. So now let's talk about the method that we're going to use to make this very complicated reference a little bit easier for you to draw. We are going to use a method called construction. And what construction is when we take a complicated object like a unicorn and we make it into very, very simple shapes. We call this the frame. We are building a frame like a house. A house has a frame, and then you put the siding and the windows and the doors and the shingles on top of it to make a house. But you can't do that without the frame. We are going to construct a frame that is going to help us draw all of the details. Let me show you using a second reference. What I did is I took the liberty of drawing over a reference here, and I have a lighter version so you're not worried about all the details that are going in on this. But we have the second reference, and you're going to see these simple shapes and these lines. Okay, these are what we call the construction lines, and these lines you will not see them in the final drawing. So you need to make sure you draw these really, really light, and that's why we're using just a regular pencil, because it helps us to do that. If we drew with just a marker, we wouldn't be able to do that. I'm going to show you how we do this. We're going to go through step by step, so that way you can start to take these skills and apply them to your own references and everything like that. So, all right, let's get to it. So here we're going to start. The first thing I want to do, I'm going to keep both these references here so you can see them. I'm also going to link these references in the description below. So here we have, I'm going to first find this X, okay, which is right about here on this reference. So all I did is I said, okay, what's this basic shape of the unicorn head and the snout and this big part? I'm looking at the big picture shapes that will make it easier for me to draw this unicorn. But first I need to place it, right? If I place it somewhere else in my picture plane, it's going to I'm not going to be able to replicate this. So what I need to do is I need to find this little cross here. So if I go to my reference and I go and I say, okay, and I look, it's not right in the middle, okay? So the middle is right about here on my drawing, okay? It's right about here. Okay, so if I put a line right in the middle, it would be off a little bit. So all I need to do on mine is I need to basically find that middle, and then I just need to go a little bit to the side of it. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to have to draw this line a little bit darker than I would like you to draw it. Okay, and that's just so it shows up on the screen. Okay. And so then I'm going to find this guy right here. So this guy, again, I can go and try to approximate, is it in the middle? And then that roughly is in the middle there. And I'm going to basically come here and I'm going to approximate it right about here. This doesn't have to be perfect, but the more time you spend here, the better result you're going to get. Okay, so now I'm going to use these to help place my next big object, which is this kind of oval bean shape. And this is anytime we can practice ovals, it's going to make us a better artist for sure. So all I'm doing is I'm going to try to draw this oval shape, okay, and roughly how big it is, right? So I am coming in here, and by no means does this have to be perfect at this stage, okay? We can always refine and change and make stuff better as we go. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make a bean shape, something like that, okay? All right. Now, what this line is the bottom of this bean shape. And from my reference, we can see that if I just double this distance, we get this line here. So I'm going to double this distance, and I'm going to come in somewhere about here. And this is going to help me place the legs and everything for the unicorn, okay? And this line helps me line up my circle for my head. Now notice about how much space there is between them. So we need about that much space. And then I have a circle that is pretty much through the middle. Something like so. Again, at this point, we don't need to be perfect. And all my lines are really light. I will be able to erase these off. And so now I'm going to start to put this one down here. So it's basically a smaller one, okay, that comes about like so. This is going to be for the snout, okay, the nose of the unicorn. And then we're going to do this oval here in the back for the back leg. And so the oval kind of comes, and I'm just trying to... When you're doing this, okay, when you are starting out, it is okay to do what I did and take your reference, make a copy of it, and draw on top of it, right? This will help you really understand these shapes that you are trying to draw, okay? So now I have my basic construction lines, okay, for my unicorn. At this point, I'm just going to take this up here so I can start to really look at my unicorn a little bit closer, okay? So now I'm going to start to draw some of the different lines that we see here, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the chin here. So the chin comes about here, okay? And then it comes, and then we connect with this curved line that comes up, and then it comes like this, okay? And then there's this little line that comes here, and then it's going to come up for the snout, and then it's going to roll in a nice curved line to the front of the head, okay? And I'm going to leave the rest because we have hair that's going to be coming down here. The reason I wanted to establish that line is because this is going to help us establish the front neckline. So the front neckline is going to come in a little bit, and then it's going to come back to the front of the body, and we're going to kind of swing here. And you're going to notice that now I'm pushing my pencil down a little bit more. That's because I'm a little bit more confident in what I am trying to draw. Now we have this front leg. So now I need to come in and I need to start making some decisions about our legs. So we can come and I can say, okay, so this leg is going to come and it's going to be about this, where the hoof starts is right about here. So I'm going to start to put this in, and then it kind of curves back this way, and then it curves up like this, okay? And then this leg comes and it kind of just tapers a little bit and comes almost straight down like that, okay? And then I can do this hoof, which kind of comes straight down like this. It comes in from here and we go like this, and then it curves just a little bit like so. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next leg. So we can look at this leg and we can see that there's a little bit of a gap here, and it's not all the way up here. It comes about here. Okay, and you're going to notice that just a little bit, and you can see it here. See how the bottom of the hoof is close to this line, okay? And that's because it is slightly, this is on the back side of the body. So we're going to come here, and this is going to be up just a little bit. They're very similar legs, but just slightly smaller because it's slightly further away. And that's something we're going to talk about when we start doing the landscape portion of this drawing, and that is perspective a little bit, okay? So here I am just throwing that in, and I'm going to draw a hoof in the same way where I'm going to have this line coming down, and then this line's going to come down like this. And then we're going to angle this, something like that, okay? So now we have a second hoof. Now let's start to go and do the back. So we have hair here that's it's going to cover this area. So I can start, I'm pretty confident right about here. And I'm going to come up. I'm going to get this round, this hind quarter, and so that once it starts to curve in, you're going to see that it curves back out. So we're going to curve this back out, okay? And if we look at our reference, see where that it stops right about here, okay? So I'm going to throw this in just like this, okay? And so now I have this, and it comes back, and then it curves down like this, okay? And then the front of this leg, all I'm doing is I'm looking at how this line is angled comparatively to this line. So I have this angle and it lines the same, but then it comes out, and it comes out, and it comes out as wide as this. So I can start up here, and it's going to get in, and it's going to come, and it's going to get a little narrower, and then it's going to angle back this way. Okay? And then I can do the hoof, which is pretty much the same as the other hoofs. Okay. And now we have this. I'm going to make this leg a little bit wider here. And so this is what I do with my eraser. And I suggest you do it as well. I make my changes to my drawing before I erase. Okay? It really helps you. Okay? So now I'm going to draw the underside of the body. And now I'm going to place that last leg. So this last leg, if we come up, comes up like this, okay? And comes down here. And I'm going to also look back at this and see again that it is placed, the hoof is just about like right here. And then, so that would put this part like here. And then I can use this and come down like this and make my line and come in here. And then this is going to come over. We're going to angle this. Something like so. Okay. And then we will finish this with a hoof. All right. So now I have my body for my unicorn. So now we can start to think about, okay, putting all the hair and all that stuff as well. Because we have here, you can see this hair lines up here and then it kind of comes down here. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to come up to this corner here and I'm going to say, okay, this is an S curve. So I'm looking at this, and if you notice, all I've done so far is I'm just looking at simple lines and shapes. So I'm going to start to make this S curve kind of come like this. Another thing I'd like to mention at this point is that, yes, we're doing observational drawing and we're trying to teach our eyes how to see. We don't have to follow our references perfectly. So we can use our own style anytime when we are creating art. Okay, and so I'm going to make my ear. And now I'm going to continue. And the reason I'm doing my ear is because the rest of the hair connects in here. So you notice I didn't even do the inside of the ear. So now I'm going to come here. And then I have another S curve. Okay. And this is where you can start to feel your own drawing and say, okay, I want my hair to do this instead, you know? That's up to you, okay? And then I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to have mine come out a little bit like this. And then it's going to wrap in and wrap out. And this is probably one of the hardest lines that we have in this whole entire drawing. And I'm just going to have it wrap like that. Okay, and so now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to have this connect back up into this, and it's going to be a line that kind of does that. And then I'm going to fix this line so it comes like this. And then I have another line that comes up like that. Okay, and so now I'm going to have this other piece of hair. I'm going to have it come out like this. It's going to wrap like this. And then I'm going to have this one piece and it wraps like that. And so now I can finish that off. And now I'm going to look at my eye. So if you look here, see how it's straight up? And you can see that in my construction. So my eye should be right about here. And my nose is in the middle of the smaller circle. And that's a smaller little oval for the nose. Okay. And then let's do the inner ear, which is a smaller version. And you can see how now, since we have these construction lines, it helps us place everything and it's all starting to come together. Okay. And that's the beauty of using construction. Okay. So now I'm going to do the front hair. And so I'm going to come up in here. I'm going to have it swoop down close to the eye. Mine might be a little bit closer to the eye than in the reference, but again, it's up to you at this point. So I'm gonna do that. And then I have this guy is gonna wrap here. And this is so we can get our we can get the horn of the unicorn going. Okay. And so now I'm gonna do my horn. And so now I'm just gonna try to make it look how I want my unicorn horn to look. And so I'm gonna have it kind of come like this. And then I'm going to do a couple of curved lines. And that's going to help this look more round and not flat. Okay. And so now I'm going to do the last bit of hair up here like so. Okay. And then a little bit more here and like that. And we have one more piece of hair that comes in like that. Okay. Beautiful. So now we have all that. The only thing we need to do is a tail. So basically I'm going to do it in the same way. I'm going to start with the bottom. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to find how this comes down like this. Okay. And then this is probably going to be, I'm just going to swoop this up into about here. And here I'm going to come up. And I'm going to swing this back around. And it comes close to that. And then it swoops down and around, kind of like so. And this is going to swoop back in here. And then we have a line here. And we have a line that comes down here. Okay. All right. So now we have our unicorn. And this is where, if you want to make some changes, this is the time that you can do so. I'm going to make my hoof here just a little bit bigger. It was looking a little too small for me. And that is going to be probably the last change I do. So now we have an important part of the process. I'm probably going to speed this part of the process up, but now I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to trace everything that I want to keep in my drawing. I'm not going to trace my construction lines. Now you could do this a couple of different ways. You could go and you can erase your drawing and then ink over it, but I like to have my lines there. I don't get confused on which lines I need to keep, so I am just going to go right over here, and then once I'm done with that, then I will continue in erase, okay? So I will meet you back when I'm done with my inking, okay? Okay, so now we have our unicorn. And you can see that he's not perfect, but he's pretty darn close, right? But we have some of these markers here, okay? So I mean pencil lines. So what we want to do now is we want to erase out our pencil lines so that way we have a nice clean drawing, okay? So that's what I'm going to do here, and then we will, this will be the end of um, step one. Okay, so you have reached the end of step one in this project. Okay, we have used our construction lines to build up our unicorn, and now we have a beautiful unicorn, but he needs a world to live in. So come back and watch part two so you can see us add the background and all of the colors to make this really come to life.